Forget. Okay. We're missing a bunch of people. We have a quorum, but Amy's not here, so I'll have to take notes. I don't know where she is.
We can give it another minute.
Yeah.
I didn't remember seeing any emails that anyone would be
And Ginny and
running
Bill
late.
aren't here, I know. Here's Bill.
There's Bill.
No, I just have to. Oh, did you unmute him already?
No.
Oh, he didn't connect yet.
There he is.
Yeah. There's Amy. Hooray. Now I can listen.
Hello? Hello?
Hello,
Hello.
who's that?
This is Ginny. Jonathan, Sandy, I cannot get on, it's just not connecting on the video. I mean, I have to use the phone. Is there any problem with anybody else?
No.
No.
Oh,
That's
boy.
strange.
I'm using the email 61820.
Here, Ginny, I'm going to just copy the link itself out of the agenda and email it to you separately. Maybe that'll work better.
Okay, because I've been clicking and nothing. Okay, thanks.
I had issues too.
Who's that?
Lena. Jenny, I had issues when I tried to click through that link too, and it made me download a whole thing. And I don't know if it was, I don't know what it was, but I hadn't had any issues like that with Zoom before.
Oh, okay.
I did.
What about the update?
I had already done that, so I don't know. But yeah.
Right. I had done that as well, and it's not even doing anything. I mean, it's not even asking me to download, which I had done the updates the last time. It's really weird.
All right. Well, Ginny, I sent you.
I think that's working, John. I think this is working. Thanks.
Okay, great.
Well, maybe not. It kind of, oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
There she is.
Yep, and then it keeps going out and coming back. Oh.
Could be your.
Okay, thank you.
All right, there we go.
Earn your photo.
I muted that one. All right, Ginny's here. Domino the cat is here. Okay, I see. Let me make sure. I see Sandy. I see Lynn. I see Bog. I see Bill. I see Amy.
Oh, Rebecca.
I see Rebecca, and I see Ginny.
Where's Rebecca on here? I have to. Oh, there you are.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
I'm looking at like a list of 20 people and looking at little red dots and.
Okay, Sandy, it looks like we're recording. Amy, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, it's 7:03, and we'll begin the meeting. So, first order of business tonight is to open the meeting with a approval of the minutes from the June 9th, 2020 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion on the June 9th minutes? Okay. All in favor of approving? I believe that's everyone I see. Yes. Okay. Next up.
5? Was that 5?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. right? I counted everyone. Yes. Okay.
That's what
Okay.
I just want to make.
You know, it's sorry to deviate for a second. I'd actually set up this account to allow polling so we could just like click a button for yes or no, but for some reason it never turns on during these meetings. I don't know why. I've actually used it in other meetings, but it will not work on here, and I've never had time to troubleshoot it. But we have 3 weeks between board meetings after this week, so maybe that'll give me enough time to spend 5 minutes figuring that out.
And they can also do the participant raise their hand. That might
Yes.
help too.
Okay, next we have to approve the agenda for tonight's board meeting. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Yeah, I move the motion.
Okay, Bog motions to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion on tonight's agenda?
Yes.
Sandy?
Just for everyone who is not on the board, that it was updated for board members to alert them to a closed session meeting at the end to discuss something that could involve architectural legal issues. So you won't see that on there, but it was added for the board earlier in the week, just so you know.
Thanks, Sandy.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we had, let's see, I think we had a motion from Bog and a second from Bill and a comment from Sandy. Is there any other discussion on the agenda?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all in favor of approving? Okay, that looks like everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Okay, all right, we're on to resident remarks. If there are residents out there who would like to make remarks, please indicate by raising your hand using the Skype hand raising feature, or turn on your video and wave at me or something. Anyone for resident remarks? Going once? Going twice? Okay. We will go into the rest of the agenda then. Okay, first up, we have new business. The first 15 minutes of new business is Oakland Mills priorities regarding Howard County government and the Oakland Mills community. And just to clarify, because I did get a couple of questions about what this means. So these are not necessarily OMCA's priorities for itself. These are the priorities that OMCA wants to communicate to Howard County government for Oakland Mills or for the broader county. And I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to attempt to share a screen here because what we sent around to members of the board a few days ago were the, see, this is that problem with trying to talk and do things at the same time. These were the priorities we shared last week when the county requested last year when the county requested our priorities. So black is what OMCA sent to the county, and red is what I believe the county executive staff responded with back in November as follow-up to this. Is that right, Sandy? Was that November?
Yeah, it was in the fall. Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, and it was from the county executive staff, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Safa Hira, she's
Okay.
assigned to our area from the county executive's office. So
Okay.
she sent it to us. We've asked for an update, but they're a little bit busy to be able to do that at the moment.
Sure. And some things, I mean, we might sort of know what the update is just because we know of things that have happened in the community. But basically what the county asked us to do last year was break the priorities into short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And I believe short-term were things to be accomplished like within maybe months to a year. Short-term was something like 1 to 3 years, and long-term was 3 years or longer. I think it was something like that, the way they described it. They didn't.
I'll tell you in a second.
I don't know if they asked in as much detail this time, but I mean, we generally know what we're.
Oh,
what we're
6
talking about
months.
here.
6 months is short term from now. 2 years is medium term, and long term is 4 years and beyond.
Okay. All right. Oh, I was kind of close. Okay. So what I have on the screen now, and what all the board members should have and been able to look at, were the priorities back then. Tonight is the new business discussion to start thinking about what we think the county's short-term, midterm, and long-term priorities should be for Oakland Mills or even countywide. And then, of course, if we decide that we want to come back with a formal response to the county, we would bring it back as old business at a future meeting to vote on exactly what the priorities are. Make sure we're soliciting resident feedback as well, and then send those off to the county. So, I'm happy to go through what's on the last list we sent, or if anyone on the board wants to start with discussion or proposals for what they'd like to see from the county, from this period going forward. It's really our discussion.
This is Paul. How you doing?
Hi, Paul.
The first three deal with Bridge Columbia, and I think all three of them don't belong in short term. The signage was apparently done, the second one. The third one, they do look at a transit way in the transit development plan, but it's 5 years and beyond. So I would say to basically drop the Bridge Columbia items. They're saying they're not going to paint. I haven't been over the bridge, so I have no idea what that pathway is like these days over the bridge. So those are kind of my suggestions on Bridge Columbia.
Yeah, I was over it recently. I mean, the pathway is still, basically the same as it was, and we have the nice covering over the bridge. The paint and the stains were really for the view from the highway, and they actually did come out and try to pressure wash the concrete a couple of years ago, and those stains are so set into the concrete that it didn't do anything, and that's the point at which they gave up on trying to clean the bridge. And I believe their feeling about just painting the bridge to cover it up was that in no time, with weather and everything, that paint would be in bad shape, and then it would just be a continuous maintenance thing to keep the paint in good shape. So it seems like they've pretty much decided to leave the concrete as it is.
Okay, well, I would move the third one into the last category, long term, and drop the other two.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Me too. Good thinking.
The EDA to do signage for Oakland Mills Village Center, that really still belongs there. I have no idea why they haven't done that. By the way, I was at LA Mart today, and it looks like the laundry may have decided not to locate there because there are signs for short-term leasing.
I don't know if those have always been there or not.
Yeah, they've had those up, and I'm still going back and forth with Cedar. They even had the signs up for short-term leasing at the salon, basically
Yeah.
the day they put the sign up that they were moving in. So I think they just don't remove the signs.
I
But
question,
who knows?
with the Economic Development Authority doing advertising for Oakland Mills. I think that I'm not sure that that's really an appropriate request, and I wonder why the merchants in the Village Center don't have flyers or whatever at events and do their own advertising. Is there another example anywhere where the county has advertised businesses in village centers?
I don't know whether there is. This was actually something that I had come up with actually years ago, before we did these short-term, medium-term, long-term priorities. Back when either Food Lion or Wise was going out, and some of the merchants were really struggling, and at the time the county was basically asking us for ideas about how they could help, or what should be done with the Village Center. And basically what I said at the time was, well, the county is building this huge project that's right behind the village center, except you can't get to the village center directly via any roads. You can get there via paths if you know it's there, but unless you know Oakland Mills, you don't even know it's there. So, maybe it would make sense for the county to, use some space in this property they've developed to direct people toward the village center, so that when they're finished whatever they're doing in Blandair Park and want to get a bite to eat or something, they know that they don't even have to get into their car and go somewhere. They can just walk a few yards to the village center. So that's where all this started. It started years ago, and then we put it into the priorities, I guess, last year as Blandair Park was getting more and more developed out.
Well,
Jonathan?
Yes, Ginny.
Yeah. One other thing we may want to consider there is, since Parks and Recreation actually controls those fields and they know who's, renting them or using them for an event, and some of them are pretty big tournaments, maybe they should be talking to the people that are doing the event and giving them flyers that will tell people, if you're looking for a place for food, here's where, and here's a map how to get there, or something like that. Maybe they could help us that way.
Yeah, I like an idea like that, or just something there that provides some link between Blandair Park and the community, because they plopped it right down in the middle of Oakland Mills, and we certainly have some residents who have dealt with the consequences of having a large crowded park literally in their backyards. So, to the extent we can also take advantage of that to help the village, I think we should be asking the county to do something that makes that link between Oakland Mills and the park.
Jonathan, this is Bag. I have a basic question.
Yes, Bog.
My question is, what's British Columbia? Excuse my ignorance. To be able to understand and make any comments, I first want to know what is British Columbia and what are the features of this?
Bridge Columbia is the pedestrian bridge between Oakland Mills and Town Center. You get to it by going off Stevens Forest Road between the Forest Ridge Apartments and Columbia Point. And if you follow that path all the way to Route 29, there's a pedestrian bridge that goes over Route 29 and comes out by the lake in Town Center.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ken?
Okay, well, I think that, in the interest of time, I think the link between Blandair and Oakland Mills is something, we can also toss around ideas and language over the 3 weeks between now and when we meet again, if we choose to bring this back as old business. Like I said, this was an idea from years ago. I'm not necessarily wedded to it being signage or anything. I just, like I said, I just think it would be nice if Oakland Mills could somehow benefit from the presence of this huge park, especially now, because you don't even need to enter the park by going into Oakland Mills. You basically come into the park right off of 175 or by going into Long Reach, but not even the area of Long Reach that has any commercial. So we are the only commercial area near the park, but you don't see it on your way in anymore. So someone has to tell you it's there. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah, and Jonathan, in talking to some of the people that use the park, what they're doing is referring people to Dobbin.
Right.
So we've got to get them to start referring them to some of our stores. Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to leave a note on this that this is, I'm going to say keep in some form, and we can figure out what form that takes as we discuss this further.
okay, works for me.
Okay. Well, the fiscal 20 budget's passed on the school system and everything. Deferred capital projects, well, actually Talbot Springs is getting built now. We still have deferred projects on Oakland Mills Middle and High, but they did pass a capital budget that allows for HVAC renovations and other capital investments. They don't specify which schools, so I don't know the extent to which we still want to state it this way or want to state it differently, or maybe not at all.
Well, this particular item, basic, say anything, look at budget for the following year, I don't really see any reason to even keep this one in, but that's my opinion on this one.
I would,
Other thoughts?
my only comment about it would be to move it to long-term, because it's something that, you know, moving forward, we want to keep our eye on this, you know, for the foreseeable future. I mean, it's not something that's been totally, you know, oh, we don't need to worry about this anymore.
So I think if we're going to go long-term, it has to be less about reviewing and overhauling the budget and more about just the capital investment in our 2 remaining schools that haven't seen any capital investment. Because after Talbot Springs, all 3 of the elementary schools are rebuilt or substantially renovated. And then the middle school and the high school are basically as they were in 1973,
Yeah.
plus an addition onto the high school.
Yeah, I agree with that. So move and reword.
Are you removing that or moving it?
I'm not doing anything right now other than putting in these highlighted
Oh,
notes,
okay,
and then I'll
thank
send
you.
it back to you.
I was writing. I wasn't even looking at what you were doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just, anywhere I'm putting in a highlight, that's
Okay, I'm
what we want to
trying
do with it
take
next.
notes too. Okay.
Okay, so the next, I believe this, yeah, we're still in short term. The next one was, Paul, this was one that you put in here last time. The incentives for businesses to hire and hold employees age 50 and over.
Yeah, and I frankly wasn't too impressed with the answer that we got. This is going to become more of an issue with because of COVID-19, and I think we need to put something in because older adults are automatically going to be at a disadvantage because of the way COVID-19 hits, and yet people are going to want to work. And you know, I have no good answers for this. You know, some people are willing to go in because they absolutely have to work, but basically boomers right now, only 40% of them have $144,000 squirreled away for retirement, and that's for maybe another 20 years or even 30 years. So,
I need more sauce.
I mean, the county really needs to keep its eye on this one because things are just going to wind up getting worse.
So you know, Paul, I think you're definitely the expert in this area, you know, on the board. Something you said, you know, struck me, and that's about what people have squirreled away. And of course, you know, working will help sustain you till you can't work anymore. But if you're not squirreling more away, you still have an issue. Should there be, and maybe there is, I just don't know. But should there be, you know, some kind of a financial literacy or financial planning aspect to this, where the county could offer services or classes through the library system or something, or maybe they do. You know, because I know a lot of challenges for folks who haven't squirreled away a lot over their lifetime is they, you know, some of them feel it's too late. That feeling of hopelessness sets in. And, you know, a lot of people will say, well, it's never too late to start squirreling something away if you can plan.
Jonathan, actually the Office of Aging and Independence does offer services that help people plan. They have legal services. They have tax preparation services. So they do have a lot of those services available. I think that I think the challenge is just making more people aware that those things are available.
Yeah, Jonathan?
Yes, Ginny. Hi.
Yeah, I agree with what Lynn said, because that's a program we created for the state when I was at UMBC. It's called MAP, Maryland Access Point. And they have all these services. The problem, and it's supposed to be, it's on a computer, access 24/7. The problem really is the department really letting people know that it's there and constantly publicizing it. And now they used to get meetings, focus groups and meetings, but they can't do that right now. But you could be doing more virtual interactions. So we just need to encourage the department to do more of that. And that's where it's objective. You have people come in, but they're not selling a product. They
Right.
are a financial advisor, but they're not pushing their company, or they're elder attorney, but they're not pushing their company. It's
Right.
to just give the facts. You get people from Attorney General's office on things. So it's got a lot of potential. I don't see that it's really being pushed enough. So unfortunately.
We are getting those announcements from the county periodically giving links to different services, but that's kind of about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
really needed. You're right.
Bill, this is one that's near and dear to your heart, and I know Dr. Jones's staff has been looking at this, the public nuisance legislation. I don't know that we've had any recent updates unless they've been in touch with you, though.
No, I haven't gotten any updates. I see their response from last year here. To me, keep it where it is. And the bottom line is who is going to oppose this legislation? Bad guys, okay? Otherwise, there's no opposition to this whatsoever. And I don't think you're going to find anybody, if this bill were to go forward, testifying against it. It works in Baltimore City. It works in Baltimore County. It can work here. It's a tool to have on the books in case we need to use it. And it doesn't hurt anybody by being on the books. So whether the citizens support and or need it, I don't think is the relevant issue. It's who's it going to hurt? Nobody. Put it on the books. If we need it, we use it. If we don't, we don't. So I'd say keep it in the short term here.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, right.
All right. Midterm was a collaborative venture with CA on doing something with the ice rink. Ginny, the county says CA is actively working on that. Something tells me these days CA is not actively working on that.
Well, it's also the village board did vote, I believe, or at least told
We did.
the intent was to have a second rink.
We did.
I think you were pretty clear on that. And the CA board knows that there's a slight financial problem right now.
Yes.
But in order to make this even more of an attraction than it is, you do need a second rink. There's no question in my mind about it. And, you know, some of you attended meetings with the Howard Huskies, the Columbia figure skating people, and with me. And it's clear they're going out of the county and spending a lot of money with other facilities, and that's bad for the county. It would be really interesting if the county were to consider assisting in this, because the county has no ice rink. So that might be nice. They don't seem to see it as something that's really an economic development issue, which I think it is. It could bring in a lot of revenue. You know, you guys know all this, to hotels and restaurants, et cetera. And it especially would be a big plus for Oakland Mills. If you talk to the people that are there, most of them are coming from out of the area. So they have no trouble finding this facility in Oakland Mills, even though we're constantly being told our village center is very difficult to find.
I think we should keep it and make it clear that while it's nice the Columbia Association is working on this, this is a county-wide amenity, so we want the county to be involved. Because I was when I was testifying at one of the recent capital budget hearings, you know, there were folks there testifying for a second rink, except they want it out in Western Howard County. I think it would be a lot more efficient to add a second sheet of ice and have a nice rink in a population center that everyone already knows. So, you know, if the county is thinking of doing anything, just let them do it with CA and let them do it here.
And it benefits all ages. If you take a look at the population that's using this,
So should we then strengthen the language, say keep and strengthen the language to emphasize county involvement?
Yeah.
I think so.
Sounds good.
Jonathan, you have me worried if they're lobbying to get a rink out in Western Howard County. They're a lot more involved out there that
Not
we need to stay on
necessarily.
top of our game.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'll get it. I mean, if they don't have water and sewer to get more than like one house on every 5 acres, then how are you going to crowd a bunch of people in an ice rink and flush the toilets, right?
Well, the reality is, I haven't studied this in a while, but if you look at it, I believe Anne Arundel County, a rink expanded. Bowie, the county council down there agreed to have, I think it's 2 rinks down there. So we already see that. There's no way in Western Howard County there'll be one built, in my opinion. So I'm not really concerned
No,
about that. It's the surrounding counties that are adding to what they have, or in the case of Bowie, actually creating 2 rinks.
Right.
That is real competition. You know, there's 4 rinks at off 198 in Prince George's County, a fabulous 50-meter pool. I mean, that place is just phenomenal. I wish our county would really think about a complex like that, quite frankly. But we've been talking about this for probably 20 years. I remember talking to Ken Ullman about a complex that would include the swimming and the ice, and an indoor track is another thing that the county really lacks. But the county government doesn't see this as a need, quite frankly, is been the problem.
Well, we'll keep telling them. All right, the next one, I guess we do need an update on this, but I know personally I would still love to see them finish the streetscape. I mean, especially since, you know, Whiteacre's only half done, and now there's going to be like this beautiful brand new school. So, you know, go ahead and beautify the road too. Finish the job. And I think, you know, Stevens Forest from Santiago and Camelback, basically down to the end, you know, where it would connect with Whiteacre, would just complete it, and then you'd have a nice, nicely streetscape border to the village center.
Yeah. I think we definitely need to keep that.
Agree.
Okay. This was one, actually this might have been one of mine, since, you know, my neighbors who I see are on the call and I are the only ones who ever mow our cul-de-sac island. But one of the things we wanted to see was whether the county at this point, with Columbia being more than 50 years old now, Oakland Mills being more than 50 years old, whether the county should be taking a closer look at how, basically at the maintenance policies for roadway medians and cul-de-sacs. I guess right now, they contract with CA for the medians, but it's not really you know, it's not really profitable for CA. I think, Ginny, you say it's basically done at cost, and then the medians are left up to the homeowners. Yeah, and I mean, just, you know, going around Oakland Mills, yeah, some medians look really nice, some medians look like total garbage, for lack of a better term, and, you know, others are just sort of, I guess, like the one on the street I live on, right, Lee and Peggy? They're just sort of there with grass and we mow them, but, you know, nothing special.
I think we should keep it.
I think we should too, but I don't think that the aging of the population is actually an important factor in this. I think that
Right, it attracts new people too.
Yeah,
right. So I'd get rid of the aging of the population.
Yeah, I agree.
that was actually in reference to me. I'm sick of pushing my lawnmower across the street and over the curb to mow the cul-de-sac. Okay, Bill, I believe this is.
Oh, someone's raising their hand. I don't know if you're taking any questions.
Oh, was there a question?
I see Karen Knight has raised her hand, but I'd have to find her and unmute her. If you want.
There we go. I unmuted.
Oh, okay.
Hey, it's Catherine. I just want to make one point that I think that it's not necessarily the aging of the population. Maybe it's the aging of the property.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is a relevant point, not necessarily the resident age, but the property ages.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's all.
Thanks.
Well, Jonathan? Yeah.
Yes, Ginny.
The issue on the medians, as I understand it, is standards for Columbia versus outside of Columbia. If the county were to take it over, let me backtrack. One of the reasons, my understanding is why our open space guys started taking this over is because the county would not mow it that often. And people in Columbia were complaining about it. So CA goes in and mows it more often than would happen if the county actually was doing the mowing. So that's an issue you got to deal with. The thing that always bothered me is that we should be getting paid at least a break even on this, and that's starting to, they're starting to do better in terms of paying. However, that extra mowing that we are getting is really CA. So you would not get that if they took it over, is one of the things we got to watch for. Is that as clear as mud, or?
But do we necessarily want it taken over, or do we just want them to go in and make sure they're properly maintained from the get-go, rather than, you know, like some of the cul-de-sacs have horribly old trees. And
First, I think we need to separate the cul-de-sacs and the medians, because the cul-de-sacs, the trees in the cul-de-sacs are the responsibility of the county, but the maintenance of the ground is the responsibility of the residents on the street. Whereas the medians, it's all county, and then it's CA doing what the county doesn't do. So one thing I think if CA wants the support is, you know, we should basically get behind, you know, the county reimbursing CA at basically a fair market rate for the work they're doing on these medians. I mean, you don't drive around other non-CA parts of the county and see county parcels just growing out of control. So the county would have to do something either way, you know, to maintain residential standards. It's nice CA is doing more than their share for them, but CA is the last organization right now that can afford to take a loss on something it's doing. When it comes to the cul-de-sacs, yeah, I mean, I do think it's time that get revisited. And then I think that there is just the overall maintenance area. Like, you know, you can look at medians and cul-de-sacs throughout Oakland Mills and other villages, and, you know, curbs are cracked and sinking into the ground, trees are dying, you know, there's erosion so that there isn't any ground, it's just tree roots. They're in all kinds of different condition, and really no one from the county pays them much attention, in my opinion.
No, it's really left to people to complain to the county, and then good luck getting anything actually done to remedy it.
Well, John, one last point on
Yes.
this. You're absolutely right. When I was explaining it, I was referring to median strips. However, the overall issue that I've been complaining about on the CA board for the last 2 years is, and this has been going on since Columbia started, perhaps Columbia residents are doing more than their fair share. There's no question about it in my mind, and maybe that needs to change. The median strips are one example where the county should be doing what people expect, and CA shouldn't be involved at all. The second thing is overpasses. Why, you know, Columbia built this, they built a firehouse when we started, they built a library, they built all sorts of things, and that was to help sell property, and Jim Rouse, you know, did that. But now we got to the point where CA residents are paying taxes to build things for the last 20 years out and more outside of Columbia, and yet our residents are paying for that and what CA is doing. So the overpasses are another example. Is that the business that CA should be in and repairing them? Or should we simply say, and I've tried this in a budget process, that if it's needed for safety reasons, it's yours, Howard County, you take it over. Haven't gotten the votes for that so far, but that maybe you may want to expand into other areas where the county is doing something for outside Columbia. They should simply be doing it for inside Columbia. And we can come up with a whole list of those. Now that I've added to the complication, okay.
That's all right.
You can add overpasses to this one, okay? Unless you don't agree.
Do we have we don't have overpasses, do we? We have tunnels.
There are in Harper's
Oh,
Choice.
well, but you're
Not in Oakland Mills.
Yeah, just not in Oakland Mills. Yeah, yeah.
So
But
I
you're
Okay.
you're
I
spending
think
money
it
on them.
overpasses.
Bill,
Yes, Jonathan, on the next one here, I'd say just add at the end as part of the Housing Opportunities Master Plan. In other words, create and keep current a map and database of all subsidized housing, both complex-based and tenant-based, that currently exists in the county as part of the Housing Opportunities Master Plan. And do that same ending for the next item.
okay. All right, the next one is the long-term plan for Verona.
Someone have a hand raised.
No,
I see it on the participant thing. Someone named TDI. No?
no, yes.
I just saw it there, but whatever. TDI, I don't know who
Yeah,
it is.
yes, that
TDI,
was
do you have a
me.
hand raised?
Yes, it's Diane Imbach. I just wanted to make a comment on the previous item when we were talking about mediums and cul-de-sacs and having Howard County responsible for some of them. In my experience, we have had a tree that has been a hazard to both kids playing in the cul-de-sac and cars parked there. And I have tried for over 4 years to get the county to come and remove it and put in repeated requests. And still 4 years later, there are branches falling off. And I would be very weary about having Howard County have to take care of that stuff on a regular basis. I think CA does a pretty decent job. I'm not sure how Howard County would respond to our requests and regular maintenance. That's all I have to say.
Thanks. Well, and just for clarification, I believe Howard County does take care of the trees in all cul-de-sac islands and medians, right? Right, Ginny? CA doesn't do the tree maintenance in the medians, does it?
No.
You're right, and there is one street where the county came in, took down a tree, and has yet to replace it. So we've been trying to get that tree replaced. So
Yeah, so it is county responsibility, but they aren't doing a very good job with it. I mean, you see some of the cul-de-sacs and they're just full of dead trees.
yeah, okay, but let me argue that real quick. So we say, well, the county doesn't do a good job, so let the Columbia residents pay for something, as opposed to, well, let's make sure the county does what it's supposed to do.
I agree.
All right. Yeah.
Whatever that the previous speaker, I had a little bit of trouble hearing her, but so I don't know what street that is, but let's just get a letter to our county council member and the county executive and saying, what's going on here? Do something about it. That's how we should be responding. I don't know if she's still on the phone or something.
She is. She is.
No, I think we should. And by the way, there is no, I think I brought this up in a previous meeting. There's no rhyme or reason to the way the county is replacing trees, because they went down Camelback Lane and took down a bunch of trees just a few months ago, and they've already planted new trees. But then over by Shadow Oak, where they took down the old oak trees, there's still stumps sitting there, and they were taken down last year. So I don't even know what logic the county applies in deciding where it's going to cut and then where it's going to replace after it cuts. But it doesn't seem to follow any pattern that I can discern.
I think
Okay,
it's.
so what street does this lady live on that we can
I
follow?
know where she lives. I know where she lives.
You want to tell us, or?
Moongong.
Moongong.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't hear who it was, okay.
Jonathan, I think it's squeaky wheel is the rhyme or reason for what the county does. If you're really careful to keep complaining, you might get some action.
Her hand is still up, but I think it might just be stuck. I'm not sure, Jonathan.
Okay.
Do you want to send me her send me that Moongong Court for open space committee to do something about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and Rebecca, I can send you a C-click fix case number on it because I sent one in.
Oh,
from For Moongong?
For Moongong, yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, next up, and we're inching ever closer to when the financing hits its 10-year period, is the plan for the redevelopment of Verona.
Explain that to me.
So when the Housing Commission purchased Verona in 2013, they purchased it with a long-term plan of eventually redeveloping it. But the terms of the financing they used to purchase it says they can't do any major redevelopment for the first 10 years of financing. So in 2023, that will be the 10-year mark, and that will also be where the Verona complexes are about 50 years old. So we've always held the position that we want to be involved sooner rather than later in any plans the county may have or the Housing Commission may have to redevelop those properties.
And how would we want them to redevelop it?
Can you see my screen?
Yes. I mean, but, oh. Yeah, I mean, it just says that we want to be included.
Right, and because it's the Housing Commission, we know it would be it would have to be a mixed income property.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean that's just the point. We don't want them to come in and surprise us and say, hey, this is what we're doing. We want to be involved from the beginning in the planning process.
Gotcha.
So we don't necessarily have like a complete vision of what it will look like, but we don't want to be surprised either.
Uh-huh.
I think it's
Larry,
important.
I'm sorry, Larry has a hand raised.
Yeah, as a resident who lives in the Verona, who is fortunate enough to serve on this board, I would want to make sure anything that we put in here is something that's inclusive, that it makes sure that the residents of the Verona who currently live there, there's a lot of long-term residents. I've lived here for about 4 or 5 years now. The lady upstairs, her son has gone through every school in this community. So there are a lot of families. This is seen as a very transient section of the community, but then there are some long-term residents here, just as long as some folks have owned their homes here. So we just want to make sure us is also inclusive of the families who currently live in the Verona, and those who may want to continue living in the Verona or living in this section of the community. So I just want to make sure that that's something that we touch on, because a lot of events that are held in the community aren't even held on this side of the community unless I hold them. So just wanted to make sure that we are inclusive and cognitive, that it's a, something that we are making sure that everyone has a voice in it, and not just whoever sits on this board at that particular time. You want to make sure that it's the folks who live in the Verona, that they have a voice.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Well, Jonathan?
Yes, Jenny.
I agree in that unlike what happened in 212, 213, the residents, all the residents in Oakland Mills should be involved. There should be public hearings. A real process should be developed. And frankly, the county should be coming up with that process right now. Because by the time you get, they want to get financing, et cetera, to do whatever they have in mind, they've got to be planning that now for 2023. They're a little late in even starting that process right now. So I would really push them. And Bill, this is your area of expertise, but I would think we should be pushing them to give us what that process will be that'll involve Oakland Mills residents, so that there can be an open public process on this issue, which did not occur the last time. We were all kind of blindsided on the whole issue. The contract had already been signed by the time we were permitted to have a town hall meeting, which was sort of sad, to put it mildly. So, yeah.
Can we move that to the
Lynn?
short term?
Yeah.
Lynn has a hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, and Ginny and Bill and Paul can correct me on this if I'm wrong, But I remember in 2013 that they told us that 5 years prior to, that after 5 years, they would start the planning.
Right.
And we would be involved in it. And I think that by we, I totally agree. We means everybody in Oakland Mills. And as I recall, that the big meeting, Ginny, there were people from all over Oakland Mills who participated in that meeting. And, you know, it's kind of, you know, in many ways, the Verona apartment, because it's such a large complex, it's really kind of the core of our Oakland Mills community. It's right, it takes up a big land mass, it's a big population. I think that it's, you know, that to kind of say, for the county to say, oh, you know, we'll let you know when we're ready to move on it is unacceptable.
Well, you know, again, Bill is the expert on this, but as the county continues to grow and more developments are not overly excited about having, quote, affordable housing, and they've been getting away in many cases with not having to do that, let's look at what will happen and what the pressure will be on the county as to what they think must happen with the Verona then. So it's pretty serious, I think, again.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
And our school system is what we always try to say, what's the impact on our school system. So
The language needs to actually specify that it's going to properly be some sort of body of residents who live in the Verona.
oh yeah.
Yeah, because with respect to the fact that there are many folks who have beautiful homes here, who you know, you walk through the community or drive through the community, this is a beautiful community. But we have to understand that this side of the community is not the most engaged. It's not the most included. It's talked about. And to make sure we're not being dismissive of anything that I said, because I heard a few names being mentioned to a comment that I made about making sure that everyone is being included in it. And everyone means the families who are living in the Verona. So like you said, we saw things happen with the school system, right? Where these families don't even know, you know, without me and some of my folks going around and telling some of the families what we're going on. These families speak English, they speak Spanish, and you know, you got to give notice, you got to be respectful, you have to be considerate. Yes, there are long-term residents in this community, but 3 or 4 years is just as important as in being a member of this community. Mm-hmm. So you just want to make sure that that's how we word that.
Yeah, no,
yeah, I think we
didn't-
definitely,
Right.
need language in there that calls out specifically the residents of Verona. I mean, this is right. This is your home. This is their homes that the commission is talking about redeveloping. So you know they play the most important role in this. Whether they're here for 3 years or 15 years, they need to know where they're living in a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think anybody disagrees with that, which is why it's important to start the planning with them and the county right now. Frankly, it's overdue.
Okay. Next one, as far as I know, there is still nothing in the county, and there was no response from the county on this about addressing abandoned and derelict commercial and residential properties. You know, basically, we're stuck with what we can do in partnership with CA when it comes to covenant enforcement, and then with CA when it comes to taking them to court. But you know, financially, neither of us are in great position to do that. And to me, this is still a health and safety issue that the county should be looking at more carefully, again, especially as properties and certain areas, you know, that were built many years ago continue to age. Bill and then Lynn.
yes, Jonathan, this potentially could be taken care of if the public nuisance bill is passed. That if people allow their properties to become derelict, et cetera, we go after them as a public nuisance.
Bill, it's been a while since I've looked at the county and city public nuisance bills. Are they strictly for residential or do they cover commercial as well?
I think they cover commercial also. I'd have to go back and
Okay.
reread it and look for that, but I think they cover both.
Okay. I mean, I know we've sent that language, but just in case they don't, we might want to reinforce with Dr. Jones and his staff that the intent would be for residential and commercial.
I know in Baltimore City, it was used against a gas station at Wabash Avenue several years ago. They were running a drug ring out of there. The city used it to shut down the gas station. The owner had to sell. A couple years later, it opened up under new ownership. So the Baltimore City ordinance absolutely is commercial. And then the Baltimore County was used against landlords who rented to students up near Towson University, and the students have wild parties, et cetera. So if you marry the two together, you're going to have residence and commercial.
Okay.
Jonathan?
Yes, Lynn.
I think that this should be moved to short term. I think we've been dealing with these properties for a long time and haven't gotten anywhere. And to make it something we're going to say the county can put it off even longer, it is not a good. We don't want to give them more of an out to ignore this problem.
Works for me. Okay, and then we had, why is this?
Huh.
So we have the Verona on here twice.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So you need a plan for what you're going to do with the Verona, and then you need the financing to do it. So we're saying that the county should be, helping the Housing Commission with the financing, given the Housing Commission's financial status. I think that's what this was.
Should we combine them? Or put them next to each other at least?
I think we probably can, because I mean we're getting closer and closer to the end of that window, so everything it has to be compressed together somehow if they're going to pull this off.
Right.
2 more years.
Well, if we don't get them moving on this, what'll happen is what happened with Forest Ridge. The county housing department came to the board, if I recall, previous board, 15 years ago, and basically said, oh, we now have this pot of money from the feds, so we want to do this, and we have a turnaround time of, I don't know, Sandy, you would remember more.
Well, it was Enterprise. Yeah. Enterprise owned it.
No, I don't want to get into all the details. My point being,
5-year.
We're letting ourselves open to, they are suddenly going to find this pot of money and they have to respond quickly. And if not, they'll lose the money. So therefore, we have no choice but to do X, Y, or Z. That'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
I don't mean to be a cynic, but
I have to raise my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy, and then Bill.
When we had Peter Engel, Bill will remember because I don't remember the details, but we asked him specifically, and that was probably about almost 2 years ago, about Verona. And he was saying that they couldn't do anything yet because of the financing thing. Did he give a time frame then? I knew it was brought up to him personally.
I can talk to that. My memory is that he couldn't do anything for 10 years because the financing was set up so that for the first 10 years, he could make no changes at all. After 10 years, he could then apply for other kinds of financing. And then at that time would be able to do renovations, changes, redevelopment of those two sites. If I remember correctly, he did say that we suggested, if I remember, and it might be combining multiple conversations with him into one night at the board, but I think we said consider making one of those locations or consider making some of those apartment buildings senior only. He said, I can't do that for 10 years because the financing groups the two physical locations into one. At the end of 10 years, then I can make changes. A possible change would be that I could separate the two land masses, and then I had the option of making one of those be senior only. So I think his hands are tied by financing for the first 10 years. After that, he can make changes. However, my take is that somewhere 2021, and as the answer is in red earlier on here, planning should start in 2021, which would be about 2 years of planning, then financing would allow him to make changes. So I think that's why it had been split into two. The planning timeline is shorter. The financing timeline is a minimum 10 years of wait and then move.
Okay, Larry?
My question is, where do we expect these families to go when we separate the two landmass for the senior housing? Because the thing is, we've concentrated all these families into one area. So is it going to be, is this plan going to be, wholesome, where there's other affordable housing units placed throughout the county, so that when these two land masses are separated and you redevelop it, and are you going to have somewhere for these families to go? Is that something that needs to be in part of this plan? Even if,
Bill?
Larry, I'm sorry, you finished? Okay, Larry, it's just an idea, nothing other than just an idea. And the turnover rate, when we talked with the management at Verona probably 4 or 5 years ago, the turnover rate at Verona was 20% a year. At the Autumn Crest and at Columbia Point, it was 40% a year. Okay, so don't, please, if when you would talk about potential senior housing, only talk about it as one of many different ideas, and only an idea, certainly not a plan, just an idea of potential changes that could take place. Other potential changes that could take place are what the previous director of the Housing Commission said, Tom Carbo. The plan 10 years ago, at 2013, was in 2023 to convert the 251 apartment units at Verona currently into 500. Okay, that's just a plan that he floated in 2013, but he said there's nothing firm. It's just an idea somewhere out in the future. Nothing can happen for 10 years. So it's only an idea, nothing more.
Okay, Larry?
I understand it's just an idea, right? So when we conceive ideas, we want to make sure that we are best in tune with reality, and what people are going to experience, where they're going to go. So before we, and with respect to what you're saying, but with the data and what the turnover rate has tended, had seemed to be over time. But I just want us to make sure in the conception of ideas, right, that we are being as considerate as possible, that when we strike an idea, we are also making sure that there is something that goes with it that puts these families somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Bill?
Yeah, Larry, historically, the Housing Commission, when they redeveloped Guilford Gardens into Monarch Mills, and when they redeveloped Hilltop down in Ellicott City into Burgess Mills, or Burgess Station, what they did was temporarily moved many of the people who were in Guilford Gardens, they temporarily moved them to other sites in the county during construction. After construction, they moved those families back into the new Monarch Mills. So historically, that's what the Housing Commission has done, so that nobody's left out.
And of course, one thing I'll point out, we're all operating under the assumption that they still plan to do something at the 10-year mark. I mean, for all we know, we haven't heard anything because they plan to leave things just as they are. But I think we all agree we need to hear something, and whatever that something is, we want to make sure the residents of Verona are involved, and we're involved, and it's not a surprise.
Right.
Okay.
Agreed.
We spent way more time than allotted on this, but I think that was good. Is there, so we've kind of gone through the list as it existed real quickly, and then we can work this over the 3 weeks and talk about it at the next meeting if we choose to. Is there anything we think needs to be added to this? Bill?
Yes, the issue of the homeowner association driveways in the townhouse developments that we have in the village, and this would be countywide, the inequity of the HOA driveway costs. When the county owns it, they take care of it. When the HOA owns it, they take care of it. It's a big disparity. We have had meetings with Opal Jones on this, and I think it's a short term. It'll be probably to solve it, it's going to take medium and long term, but I think it needs to be addressed short term. In Opal Jones's December meeting in Talbot Springs Elementary School, which he called his State of the Councilmatic District, where he gave all of his accomplishments and then opened up the floor to issues. This issue, along with the public nuisance bill, we discussed with him at that meeting and have had follow-up meeting with him on this. So I think that this is critical to be short-term and will take medium to long-term to find a solution.
Just as an aside, this doesn't fix the long-term problem, but do you know whether Holly Court is ultimately getting taken care of as a byproduct of the Talbot Springs renovation? I know there was some talk of using their roads as an access point for the construction, and in return, the county would do a paving project there. Did that work? Did that work out?
I am not sure. I haven't heard any more on that. It's something I could check with Alex Akimian about.
Okay.
And that might be something just a follow-up with Alex to see where that stands.
Yeah, because we could use that. We could just tell the county, well, the easy fix is just, build us a bunch of new school buildings, and while you're at it, repave things. And I'm kidding. All right. Is there anything else before we move on from this topic? And I'll send this back to Sandy, and we'll clean this up and distribute it, and then bring it back as old business at the next meeting if we want this on the agenda. All right. Going once, going twice. It's gone. Okay, next up, this should be a relatively short one. During the bulletin board at the last meeting, Rebecca said that Warren Wortman is interested in becoming the chair of the Oakland Mills Public Space Committee. But of course, we need a formal nomination and discussion to do that. So I'm assuming, Rebecca, that Warren was actually at that meeting and wants to do this, right?
Correct.
He's not here tonight to say yes or no.
He is not. I actually probably should have told him, but he, yes.
Okay, well then I'll go out on a limb and say, okay, so what we're considering is nominating Warren as the chair of the Oakland Mills Public Space Committee. Does anyone on the board have any discussion or object to bringing that back for a vote at the next meeting?
No, it's an excellent choice.
Wait, it was already brought up last meeting. We should be able to vote on it tonight.
No.
It was in your bulletin board. It wasn't on our business.
I asked, okay. I asked for it to be in the business for us to talk about.
It is.
It is. It's new business tonight.
No, last time. Okay, whatever. I can wait another week or another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
I'm okay.
Bill?
Real quick, I think on technicality, we had, if I remember correctly, voted to have Rebecca be chair of that committee. And so she's currently the chair, so that the motion would be to nominate Warren to replace Rebecca, technically. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I think that would technically be correct. Yeah.
So can I just step down as chair effective immediately?
Well, then the committee won't have a chair until for
You
another
make it.
3 weeks.
Well, I mean, I guess.
He could be acting chair, or can I,
Yeah,
or
he
just
he could be
second Bill's
acting chair,
motion and then
or
he becomes chair.
I guess technically, well, let me think about this. I guess technically, at our first board meeting of the year, we do all the administrative appointments at that time. We don't talk about them and then bring them back as old business at the next meeting. So if we all agree that this is just a continuation of the administrative appointments, I don't think there's any objection to him from residents or from anyone on the board. So do we all agree we could just do it tonight, Lynn?
No, because when it was for who was going to be in the, I forget what the committee was, but it was nomination and then the two people. So it was Phil and another person had to give their
Yeah.
resumes, and then they had to wait the 2 weeks. I mean, that was the process. So I think when we do it at the first meeting of the board, we're all board members who are taking those positions. So it's a little bit different than having a resident. That's my opinion. I mean, I think we should stick to the way we do it.
Larry?
Well, in respect to the way that we do it, we don't just nominate board members. When we do those appointments in that first meeting, we're not just nominating sitting board members for some of those posts. And to, just to be supportive of being able to, if we were able to take this action, in this meeting, we, kind of to what you said, Jonathan, in the first meeting, we discuss these appointments and they're on the agenda and they're business at the time. So I feel like this is just a matter of appointing someone to that.
So yeah, I mean, I see both points. I guess the distinction is this is one of our own standing committees, whereas the other thing, Lynn, that you were talking about was actually our nomination to something that is CA's, and it was something where we didn't previously have any representation at all to basically another organization's committee. This is entirely under us. So if there is a difference there, I think it's that. But I'm fine either way. I'm fine waiting. I'm fine going with it because I think the committee can function either way.
I think we have the right to.
Obviously, yeah. I would like to resolve it tonight. Sorry, Larry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm still going to the meetings, but Warren knows all the information. And in the beginning, I should have had him just do it because it's his wheelhouse.
Well, why not just follow our process and wait? It's here as a new business this time, and next time we vote on it. I've seen also none of us really, I mean, Warren, and many people know Warren. I've never, to my knowledge, even seen Warren. So, it would be nice to know who it is that we're voting for.
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up last time for that, and
All right. Well, I think we should wait. So, and this goes back to discussions we've had in the past. New business. If we want new business, then it should be brought up on the agenda under new business. If we say things as part of reports, if we say things as part of the bulletin board, that's not necessarily introducing it as business because the rest of the board isn't aware of what's going to come up. So that is why it's under new business on this agenda.
Okay.
So I think we can take care of it in July. I mean, and I think the committee can continue functioning with Warren's, expertise. And, if the committee is meeting again between now and then, certainly Rebecca, as the current chair, the potentially outgoing chair, you can always look at Warren and say, Warren, would you like to lead this meeting tonight?
Okay. I don't have any time to do anything for the meeting right now, so nothing's going to happen until Warren takes it over.
Okay. All right. Board chair report.
I had a quick question.
Yes, Larry.
So are we just for clarification, so are we just saying that we're looking at this from the purview that we did appoint a chair initially during that first meeting, and it was Rebecca?
Yes.
So now if she were to step down or however she proceeds, this would become a matter of needing to be new business to fill the or to replace or appoint the next chair.
Well, it is new business tonight because at the last meeting, Rebecca told us of her intent to step down. So, as new business, we have to see, we have a suggested nominee. We put it on new business to ensure there's, no one else who might be interested. And then we can bring it back at old business next time and confirm Warren, assuming no one else steps up and the board agrees that it should be Warren. I think the difference between this and what we do at the first meeting is at the first meeting, the agenda is published with the intent of naming all the various officers, committee chairs, and things like that. Whereas, midterm changes are not planned. They're not scheduled. I think that's the distinction here.
Jonathan?
Yes, Ginny.
Is there any violation of any of our rules if Rebecca were to ask Warren if he would please, if not act as chair for a couple of weeks, or at least run the meetings until this can be resolved, so that if there is any need for open space to meet or deal with any issues, it would continue, because Rebecca's pretty busy on a lot of other things. So
that's what I was saying earlier. I was saying if the Public Space Committee needs to meet before we confirm a new chair, then Rebecca, as the current chair, can always say to someone else on the committee, hey, I need you to run this next meeting for me.
Right. So they could do that. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, board chair report. A couple of things. One, if you haven't seen the emails or other notices, there is fencing up around what is currently the field next to Talbot Springs and will soon be the new Talbot Springs. So they're moving utilities to the field to feed the new building this summer, and then they're supposed to break ground and start construction in October. So assuming kids are back in school at some point, construction of the new school will be going on simultaneous to kids attending the old school. And then I think the scheduled opening of the new school is 2022 if everything stays on schedule. And at that point is when they would move all the children into the new school and begin demolition of the old school, and then basically rebuild the fields, blacktop, everything else that's needed to support the new school. So it's finally happening. They're finally starting to do stuff, and before we know it, there should be a hole in the ground, and from there should be no turning back, because the money is flowing, and once it's flowing, it's not supposed to stop. So that's the good news on Talbot Springs. Another thing, this is completely voluntary on behalf of all the members on the board, but obviously our board has had its challenges in recent times, and I don't think those are challenges that we should ignore or brush under the table. So this was actually a suggestion that Sandy had made based on some past work. I made a phone call to the Howard County Mediation and Conflict Resolution Center, to see what they do to help facilitate interactions among, boards of directors, or if there's, any way they can help us get better at conducting our business. And, they're a nonprofit, they work on stipend. So the director called me back, and I explained what we are and what we do. And they're kind of familiar because they worked with us before. And, she sent me a link to their website so I could tell all of you what they do. Actually, I can just share the screen. I don't need to read it if everyone can see it, if I can figure out how to get the screen sharing going again. But basically what they're interested in doing with us is, if we provide that, I don't know why there it goes. They'd like to do an anonymous survey of each member of the board. And Jenny, that includes you. So it's each member of the board, not just voting members. I don't know what questions they want to ask, but they basically want to get, a feeling of how everyone feels about their role on the board, get their perspective, challenges, successes, things like that. It would be an anonymous survey, so they'd email us a link, we'd go in and take the survey, and then from that, they would come up with a proposal for how they might want to, work with us to facilitate some interactions. So, I made the first call as the chair, but I'm the same as the rest of you when it comes to working with them. So what I'd like to do at this point is kind of, step out of being the primary point of contact and hand that over to Sandy. And what I'm proposing is, if you're interested in taking the survey and possibly working with them, and again, it's voluntary on behalf of each member of the board, by the end of this week, just send Sandy the email address you want her to share with them so they can send the survey. And then she will share that with them. They will produce the survey. They will send the survey questions back to us. We'll take the survey during whatever time period they want us to take the survey. And then, they'll come back and talk to Sandy about, what they think they might be able to do to work with us. Our other experience with them, I mean, maybe others of you have had experiences with them. We had great experiences with them back when there were countywide Board of Education general elections. So you had a lot of candidates, and we would do a candidates forum here in Oakland Mills. They would facilitate those for us. And, they were very nice to work with and very professional, and they're just a good organization. So that's my thought on the matter. If anyone wants to comment, feel free now. There's a few minutes left in my report. Otherwise, like I said, if you're interested in doing this, just send whatever email address you choose over to Sandy so that they can reach you at that address.
I like the idea. It is a brilliant idea.
Well, Sandy's pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
I'll unmute for that. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Brigitte's here. Okay. That's all I had on my chair report for tonight. So Ginny, no, I'm sorry. Seeing CA reminded me of one other thing. CA did respond to the letter that the board chair sent about meeting to discuss the financial situation and any other changes to the relationship between the villages and CA. CA is proposing an in-person meeting when that can happen. So, right now I'm talking to the village chairs. The village chairs are mostly in agreement that an in-person meeting would be preferable. It's just a matter of finding an appropriate time and venue, because we're talking about, if it's just the CA board, the village chairs, the village managers, and the appropriate CA staff, I'm thinking it's at least 32 or 33 people. Because I'm 10 CA reps, 10 village board chairs, 10 village managers, and then I'm assuming it would be the CA president, the CFO, and maybe there would be a couple of other staff members who would attend. I don't know, Ginny. So what the village chairs are mulling right now is coming back to CA and saying, yes, we welcome this. We would love to have an in-person meeting, with one caveat. If the financial situation takes another turn where more decisions need to be made before we can get 30-some people together somewhere to meet, then we want to do it as a virtual meeting. So it sounds like that's where we're leaning. I haven't gotten feedback from all the village chairs, but the ones I have heard from agree that that's probably the response that we should send back to CA.
Yeah, so around 35 people you're talking about, and you just have to find a location where you could allow for social distancing, masks, the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, which shouldn't be impossible.
Right. Paul, do you have a hand up?
Yeah, I have a question. Have we gotten any response from CA with going with a one-year only management contract?
Unless something came into Sandy's inbox since she left work today, no.
Okay.
Sandy, you're muted.
Unmute.
There you go.
Nothing.
I think that's part of what would be discussed.
Well, we have other things in there. We had the HVAC assessment, and that might not be something that should wait till a time that we can all meet, because I don't want to offer the other barn to meet if we haven't had that done. So there was more than just that.
No, that's not waiting. Part of that was Jeremy was furloughed. So until Jeremy comes back, he's got to be one of the people that goes to each building. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
being
just,
worked on. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of employees, as you know, that were,
no, I know.
nobody wants to hear it, okay?
No, but we have a company called Fidelity that is they are the contractors for our systems. So my concern is I don't know why they can't arrange for Fidelity for the technicians that service our units all the time to meet with us, or I don't know why they can't meet with us on Zoom. I mean, we have to wait for Jeremy, which I'm very sorry for everyone's situation. This has nothing to do with it, but why do we have to wait for them to basically be able to have guests and events in our building to know what steps we need to take for pure air and to make sure our units are efficient? I mean, I think there's other ways that we can maybe accomplish this with the vendors that they have and with the technology of the ability to even meet with us and talk to us. So that's my more urgent concern.
No, I think those are good points. And I guess I'm trying to figure out how Owen Brown or what Owen Brown community did that they're open.
Can I say something? Open for Owen Brown doesn't mean that they have had events there. Their staff who's left, because they've furloughed a lot, their manager likes to work in the building. And so if someone came to the door, he might open the door. So they're open does not mean that they are hosting gatherings in their building yet. Maybe they're doing 10 or less now, but he's chose to work there. So he says his building's open. But, you know, it's not until this week really that buildings could even have gatherings at half capacity. So that, you know, he might say he's open, and he also might have windows that open and not be on a second floor with no fresh air coming in. So each building also is really different.
Yeah. Let me, if it's okay with you, let me just get a hold of Dennis tomorrow and see what's happening, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then get back to you, Sandy.
Yeah, I mean, I've bought already standing air purifiers for some of the smaller rooms, but the biggest room that's my biggest concern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you. I know. And I really was kind of hoping we'd eventually have bathrooms on the second floor. That was...
Well, for now, let's take good air.
Well,
they need to put those giant exhaust fans that used to be on top of the loft back in there. You know, we still have the louvers up there. There's just no fans in there.
Yeah.
All right, Ginny, your report.
Okay. Just a couple of things. One, it's looking good for getting the loan. I'll give you more specifics the next time. But that's been, I know, a little traumatic for everybody, including our staff that have been working extremely hard to try and work this out with conditions that would be acceptable to Columbia. So I can get you much more specifics. This is just happening, but that's good news. The bad news is, I'm sure everybody's going to think, well, then there's a lot of money, and I will get you the specifics on this too. But a lot of this is going to be paying off the line of credit, which is now about 17.5 million. So I'll get you all the facts on this, but our finance staff are telling us don't think there's going to be a lot of extra cash. Now, we can debate that, and as I say, I will get you the specifics. I am still not happy with not having at least a couple of outdoor pools open on both sides of the road. I mean, we've all realized, although I have one person that keeps telling me we should open all 23. I have others that we were trying to open 14 and allow for the swim team. And, you know, that didn't work with one of the budgets. We tried for 9, 1 in every village. And then with more budget cuts, that didn't work. But now that we've opened earlier than we thought we'd be able to, the clubs, and we're at about a 33% return so far. It's only been a couple of days on the club so far. And for those of you that don't know, the athletic club closes down at 1 o'clock every Monday through Friday. And from opens up again at 1:30 for people over 60. And it's thoroughly cleaned at 1 o'clock. 1:30, it opens up for people over 60 to 3:30. So if you know some people that are 60 plus that feel more comfortable going there as opposed to the other clubs, there's less people there. And when they walk in, they get a bottle, a spray bottle, and a rag, and they are to clean down, again, even though it's just all been cleaned, they are to clean down their own equipment, clean it down if they're going to use a treadmill. When they finish, clean it down again, wear a mask walking around, and there are things on the floor that tell you what direction to walk in. It's extremely well done if you want to drop over and take a look at how they're handling that at the athletic club. I have not, and maybe some of you have, tried the Supreme Court yet, or the Columbia Gym, but I am very impressed with how the staff is handling the athletic club. So, but anyway, so revenue is coming in a lot earlier. One of the budgets that I supported had us opening in July. That failed by a 6-4 vote, I think. And then by an 8-2 vote, the budget passed to open in September, which is a much more conservative budget. So what I'm trying to figure out is, well, if we start bringing in some more cash, I know we have a lot of expenses, but if we get the loan and some more revenue, can there be any chance that we can open a couple of outdoor on both sides of 29? Now, the other negative to that you'll hear a lot of people say is the experience would be very disappointing to our residents. It's not what normally you would expect from an outdoor pool. Well, that's true. You'd have to explain to our residents what all the conditions would be based on what the governor, the Department of Health at the state level requires, the county executive and the county Department of Health would require. But, you know, if I think you just share that with them, and then if they want to use the pool, that's their choice. Enforcement is another issue where staff does not want the lifeguards trying to enforce problems. And apparently already at some of our outdoor pools, we actually have been hiring security to enforce problems at some of our outdoor pools. I don't think we've ever had to do that in the Oakland Mills pools that I'm aware of. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but I guess I personally just really feel we need to do a better job of presenting the picture from an economic and a reality testing of what an experience at an outdoor pool would really be. And then if the residents choose to say, well, forget about it. Now the indoor pools are open. If you have a play membership, you can use the indoor pools at the swim center. Obviously, if you have other memberships and you belong to the clubs, there are pools there that are open. So, okay.
Hey, Jenny,
yeah.
before you move on, sorry to interrupt, but based on the interpretation of the email I got from CA today, if you have a play membership, it's suspended or you're not paying for it until something like September or October. So if you want to continue using your play membership, you actually have to pay a monthly fee to CA or pay some lump sum to cover you until they start automatically debiting for your pay. Is that your understanding of it?
No, it's not. If you read, I had that issue brought to my attention today, and I sent it over to Paul Glykoff, who's acting director of marketing, to get this clarification on it. There seems to be some discrepancy as to what one announcement said and what's actually being done. So I will be able to clear that up hopefully tomorrow.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I think I'm looking for it now. I actually think they sent the email this morning or last night, and
I know
it's unclear.
Well, and when you sign up, I think one lady was charged 122 or something. So I'm working on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll forward you what I got just so you have that one.
Thank you.
Jonathan, my interpretation was the same, that they weren't charging for play memberships at all for a while.
Until September. However, this one lady got charged, so that's what I'm working on. Why?
Right, but the other thing they said was if you want a summer play pass until they start charging you again in September, you have to pay $65 or you can pay $25 a month. So basically, play memberships are suspended right now unless you take some action to start paying sooner than September, is the way the email reads to me.
Uh-huh.
So if that's not what they intended, they might need to clarify
Mhm.
that.
No, I agree.
Okay, and
Because
it also the email also doesn't say anything about whether there are, you know, the same reduced rates for people with you know, lower incomes as there are with regular memberships. They just laid out some flat rates, and that was that.
yeah, and they do have reduced rates, so as I say, I'm not
Yeah.
overly pleased with sometimes our communication. Because part of it is we lost our marketing communications person and another communications person, and then you don't want to hear this, and then a whole bunch of
Yeah.
furlough, but that's no excuse. So get back to you on that.
Yeah, no, thanks. And yeah, and
Not
I know
everybody.
you didn't write the email. I just wanted to make sure that it's clear, because it is kind of confusing to read the emails.
Right, and especially when you're telling people if they have a play membership, they can use the swim center, which is what we were told.
Right.
Yeah, the indoor, but there are people that say, I don't want indoor, I want outdoor. So that's still the dilemma. And I know there are a lot of angry people about, I want the outdoor pools open. You're not going to get 23 or even 14.9. Can we do something in between? In July, we'll be voting on whether to keep the cap, the assessment the same, you know, what you pay, the lien that you pay CA the same, or raise it. So you really want to give your opinion on that. I'll be sending out more information on that. In the last couple of years, I have voted against an increase. I think that's even more important now because I do think we have people in Howard County that are unemployed and suffering, and I'm worried, frankly, that some of them are going to be able to pay the lien to CA, period. And I'm talking about also commercial. I think, for example, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the mall that's been closed so long doesn't appeal whatever assessment the county gives them. I'm sure they're going to say, no, we really need to, we don't want to pay that much in taxes, which has an impact on them, what the lien would be for CA. And that's one of our highest paid commercial people is the mall. So I think what we anticipate or project the revenue will be, I'm afraid or I worry that it'll be lower. And the whole budget, you know, may have to be reduced. So, and in October, we will be getting a draft FY22 budget. And that should be interesting to see what services are in there. And it's really important that you really begin to think about what core services you really want to make sure that CA delivers to you, as opposed to all the things CA has been trying to be all things to all people. And now we're at the point where the money just isn't there. So that's going to be a serious issue for this next year, perhaps 2 years, depending on what happens and whether things close down again or what. We're certainly hoping they don't. The e-scooter was the last issue. We're voting on that Thursday night, and I appreciate all the feedback I've received. You know, the state said an e-scooter is the same as a bicycle. They have the same rights. The same with the county, passed legislation to do that. I still has sent an email to the CA legal staff today, and I was asking some questions about, but CA doesn't have to grant access to CA's pass system, correct? Or could CA1, and that's what we're looking at, setting conditions on use of e-scooters, or could they limit it to, the big push seems to be that people want to use scooters downtown and perhaps in Gateway. could that be limited, our path system, to just downtown and just Gateway? And so I was just asking questions and trying to get answers before the vote Thursday night. So if you guys have any suggestions on that. Go ahead.
Did you see my email about limiting at nighttime?
No, was that from the Open Space Committee? Or-
Yes, I just forwarded you an email from Warren about
Okay.
they're most dangerous at night. And I don't know how that works with if downtown is where they're most being used for concerts and restaurants and all, can they even say they can't be used at night? But a lot of other places, the scooter companies collect them in the evening to charge them overnight. So.
Okay.
Oh, Larry's muted.
I'll look at that. I didn't see it. Okay.
I was just like, what? Like, no, because when you said they were dangerous at night, but they picked them up in the evening, I was nothing. I was just, don't mind me.
Well,
and technically CA paths, I think except for the multi-use paths, CA paths are technically closed from dusk to dawn, aren't they? So
right.
really no one is supposed to be on them, but.
Right. Yeah, but I thought I heard Rebecca's concern or the Open Space Committee's concern was more downtown.
I'm sorry, I should say public space. I keep getting it wrong. Sorry, Bill. Yeah, I figured people would be using them downtown. I mean, they're only an effective mode of transportation if they're getting you where you want to go instead of driving. And one of the big places people drive would be to Merriweather or out to dinner. So if you can't use them to get home, then are they going to be useful?
True.
Okay. You're the first one that's raised that issue. Thank you.
Ginny, was that everything?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ginny? All right, we'll send it over to Sandy. Sandy, you're muted.
Okay, things are moving along. We remain open as a business. I keep telling you, and that is my little pet peeve, but we are. The things that we're working on now is looking at opening up for rentals. Our daycare wants to go back and will go back to the Talbot Springs Neighborhood Center. I had a meeting that we had to postpone, but the Village in Howard will meet with me about limited use in their building. I mean, their use of that building is up to them because they can use the building. Brigitte and I are coming up with, and the other villages, addendums to the contract that specify all of the executive orders that are currently in place for COVID-19. And it also, we've added our own rules in the other barn for gathering and capacities in our room. By, people need to be stationed at the door, letting in only their guests for church. There's a lot of other responsibilities that'll go in the mail to this church that meets in our building every Sunday. And so realistically, we're looking at August, if we can make sure that our upstairs room is a healthy environment, to start having small group rentals. And that would be with a maximum of 60 people, including vendors. So any parties on the books, if they want to change their guest list and keep their dates. If not, most people are actually rescheduling weddings and social gatherings to 2021. But now Brigitte and I are seeing inquiries for smaller events where they would never have looked at our place, but now we're a viable place for 50 or 60 people, and the places they had can't accommodate them. But the big thing is that they will be holding Columbia Association, and Sherry has looked at the addendum and approved it, and Oakland Mills Community Association holding us harmless for anything COVID related. We've talked to Judd, and he's all set with the cleaning, and he's actually been cleaning offices now that are open. My entire dining room is filled with Amazon boxes of masks, thermometers, decals, PPE plastic things for an emergency. I got 3 HEPA air standing purifiers for the office space because they're small room. Plexiglass to enclose the whole front desk. Mounted hand sanitizers, wall mounted standing hand sanitizers, bottles of hand sanitizers, anything and everything I can think of that we need to open and provide as safe an environment for our staff and guests as we can. So, you know, hopefully the daycare will have a successful go at it at Talbot Springs. Thunder Hill won't have anyone till the nursery school goes back. I haven't heard from them, but I'm sure they'll want to open in late August. And the Village in Howard, as they're comfortable going back, then they will go back. I also apply, they're accepting new applications for the economic injury loan, EIDL loan. And it's an immediate, if you get it, an immediate grant of $10,000. And then I guess they'll tell you if you want any other loan amounts. So I sent that application in on Saturday. And that's about what I've been working on this week. And Carrie is extremely busy, as is Lynn and the RAC. Processing applications as they come in, and I'm pretty sure Lynn can correct me that the RAC is going to meet probably weekly to get through the applications that are there. I think we're pretty much caught up on the letters of compliance. That was really busy the past 2 months. I think I've sold from my house like almost 30 HOA packets. And Karina, she has a report for Lynn about what's going on with the property standards. And I think that's it for now.
So you have all the protective equipment in your house. You're selling new resident packets out of your house. Should we just hold events at your house?
Well, that's why I say we're open, because yeah, we could comfortably sit people inside and out here, and I can hand out as many face masks and gloves as they want.
All right. Thanks.
And Ken says, my husband keeps saying, when are we going to bring it there? And I just don't have the energy to load up like 20 boxes in the car. So it'll just stay here for now.
Thanks as always for all you're doing. Actually, our minivan is with the mechanic now, but we'll have it back by the end of the week.
You can help then.
If you need me to come by and just open the tailgate, I can load it up and then bring it over there.
So thank you. That's it.
All right. Lynn, did you have a committee report beyond the closed session?
Yeah, I do. This is just following up with what Sandy just said, that we've been meeting. We had a RAC meeting last Thursday. We're going to have one this week. Carrie feels that we aren't as pressed as we thought we would be, that we're being able to process these pretty quickly. The last meeting just went very, very smoothly. The big opening that we've done in the past couple of weeks is that up until now, we've put a hold on really trying to respond to the complaints, to any sort of complaints. But within the past couple of weeks, Karina has been able to kind of handle this. Prior to this, she's been working on the letters of compliance with Carrie. So the report from Karina, which I will give to Amy so that it can be included with the minutes for this meeting, she said that she's had, since she began really processing these, she's had 9 new submissions. Most of them are yard maintenance. And so that's the reason actually why we put this as a low priority, that we thought that the letters of compliance were really the most important thing. And then following that, the applications for external alterations. So those are the things we've been focusing on. So she has she has really been working on the 9 that are the new ones. And of the repeat ones, there were 6 that were sort of outstanding from when we closed down. And she's followed up with those. And again, they're primarily maintenance, kind of yard maintenance things. She said that it's kind of slowed down now, the complaints that she's getting, but as soon as she gets them, she responds to whoever is complaining if they give their contact information about how they're being responded to. She says they're slowing down now, which she's happy about, but that she also says that people are, when she gets back with them, that people are very understanding and appreciative, that we're not getting any kind of, like, well, why aren't you doing more? So that's about it. I mean, I think it's well in hand now. I'm totally impressed that with all of the constraints that we have, that we've been able, that there are 2 covenant advisors and Sandy, everybody working together, that it's been able to be handled so well. I think we're in good shape. That's my report. If anybody has any questions.
A quick question, Lynn. I know that I don't remember all the timelines, but timelines for compliance and all that stuff. How has that been affected with not essentially working, or has it not been affected? Like sending out the letters of, that you're not in compliance, and they had so many days, and then we had to.
Yeah, that really hasn't been an issue, because that doesn't really kick in until after, that if somebody gets something, because we haven't been dealing with complaints. So that's all based on somebody complains about someone's property. And then Karina would go out and check to see if it's really a valid complaint. If it is a valid complaint, then a letter goes out, and then there's a time period, and then a second letter goes out. But since Karina hasn't been going out to respond to complaints, that just hasn't been an issue.
There weren't any that were like open before that then kind of got frozen?
There were 6 that were open. They were about yard maintenance, and because people aren't, with all the rain and everything, people aren't really able to, with yard maintenance, it's kind of, you mow your lawn and then it grows again, so that's not something that ever becomes, it never becomes I can't say never, Sandy can correct me, but just seasonal yard maintenance does not become something that ever becomes something that goes to CA. It's not that crucial.
But there are a few of our more concerning properties that she's been following up with the banks, following up with the homeowners, trying to find the bank that services the property. So that part, not every single one, but the ones that are red flag ones. Actually, one in Stevens Forest just got mowed and a little bit maintained as a result of that. So there are some that she's following up with.
Right, and I'll have something in the closed meeting.
And if anyone contacts her about it, like there's, some neighbor might contact her, then that will trigger, a response, because it's one of those houses that needs more attention.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that, Sandy. Thank you for that clarification.
All right, any further questions for Lynn? Okay, we'll do the board bulletin now, so we don't have to keep any residents around, while we go into a separate room for closed session and then come back out of closed session. So I'm just going to work my screen here. I see Paul first here for board.
Yeah, just a point of information, and I got this through Therese, so I have no update on it. Cheryl Neely, the TVIH coordinator.
Sharon.
Pardon?
Cheryl, yeah.
Cheryl Neely. She fell down the stairs, I believe, on Sunday. And according to the email that Therese got, she was supposed to be transferred to shock trauma in Baltimore. I have no update on her. Sandy, if you need to contact anybody.
I have been.
Okay, talk to Ron Putz.
Oh, okay. Mary McGraw was supposed to meet with me, and that's why the meeting was canceled, because of Cheryl falling. I just didn't want to say that out loud.
Okay.
But so she said she would keep me updated.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
All right,
And
thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay, Rebecca.
Nothing.
Okay,
Keeping
Ginny.
my head above water.
Okay, Ginny.
Yeah, a quick thank you, Jonathan, for sending this Dear CA Play Member thing from CA. Actually, I retract one thing I said about CA's communication. I just got a chance to read it. It's about the play membership, and frankly, I think it's extremely well done. It gives all the options, what you can do when. I don't know why I got this complaint today from someone that they have been charged a certain amount for, quote, their play membership. If you read this, it's very clear what you can do. And it's, again, I think Dan did a very good job with this. Now, should it have come out a couple of days ago? Yeah, but I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's still, I mean, I thought that was well written. I think it's still just a little confusing because that seems to indicate you do have to pay something if you want to do play activities before, what is it, September 17th, but other messages are saying, no, you still have your membership. So I think that's still
No.
the part that's unclear to some folks.
Right, no, this is, you don't have it. This is if you want other options, here's what you do. And yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks.
I think this is very clear, yeah.
Okay, let's see, Larry.
Nothing.
Okay, Bill.
Yes, 5 quickies. Sandy, if you need hauling help, call me.
Okay.
Howard County Rec and Parks is going to start childcare at some facilities July 6th, so I might start working then. I've been to the Stream Sports Club twice in the 4 days it's open. It's very easy to use, no problems. The 2 issues now, the tennis courts behind the ice rink, I've been there often, and several times I've seen people playing tennis on one court and paddleball set up on the pickleball set up on the other court. Pickleball players tend to bring their own portable net, takes less than 5 minutes to set up. Everybody was getting along fine. I talked with the different people afterward, and they said, hey, there are no issues using the ice rink courts for tennis and pickleball. It's all working out very nicely, which is excellent. Good to see the courts being used a lot. The tennis courts over at Oak Mills High School, I've been there often. They're getting used a great deal. Sometimes people have to wait. It's a very diverse group of people that are using that. Sometimes I give out my business card to everybody, tell them thanks for using it. It's great to see everybody having fun. And if you have any issues, same thing over the ice rink. If you have any issues with the courts, call me, we'll get them fixed. And the final issue is the potential laundromat. There is a lot of building activity inside there. They're framing out walls. There's a lot of duct work. I'm not sure whether it's just HVAC or also for the clothes dryers. For the last 2 weeks, there's been a flatbed picket truck parked next to the ice rink. It's a green cab, and I think it says unlimited laundry on it. So my guess is that the laundromat is going in. And now I'm done.
Thanks, Bill. Bog?
Yeah, I think many of you may have seen a press release from the office of council members, Dr. Opal Jones and Christiana Rigby. They are working on a project, and thank you, Sandy, for forwarding the press release to all of us. So they are working on a project aimed at establishing greater racial equity in the county. And they have invited the community leaders and residents to take part in the conversation. So I feel tempted to take part in the conversation. So I'll respond to them that, well, I'm available and I would love to come and take part in it with my ideas and suggestions. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Bog. Lynn?
Just wanted to say that, Bill, I saw the same things with the laundromat. I saw the truck and I saw the stuff going on inside. So I think you're right. That's a fair conclusion. But other than that, I have nothing.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything except a question for why we've sat through a meeting for nearly 2 hours and no one has asked why there's a skull looking over my shoulder, but other than that, I have nothing. Sandy,
I wanted to ask that.
Okay, well,
you look like a disc jockey. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't mean when I said that, but yeah, like what? What is that?
I thought it was purely intentional to scare us all into submission.
No, this is actually my home office because everyone is at home all over the house. And since I have everything hooked up here, I just decided to do the meeting from down here, and our Halloween decorations just stay back there in the storage room hanging from the rafters.
It looks like a mic. It looks like one of those mics.
Yeah, it does. I didn't even know.
Does it?
It doesn't even look like a
It
skull.
does, it does,
I,
yeah.
I didn't even see that. It was, oh, it's not even that close. Oh, now you
No.
see it.
All right, Sandy, did you have anything?
No more.
Okay, Amy, anything?
Nope.
All right. So at this point, we are done with the open portion of the meeting. We do have architecture, legal business to discuss in closed session as a board. However, we do need a motion to go into closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have everyone? Rebecca, did you have a hand up? Oh, okay. Now we have everyone. Okay, so at this point, I have to say goodnight to our residents and thank you for joining us because we do have to continue this in closed session. And in the minutes that follow this meeting, there will be a brief statement as to what the outcome of the closed session was.
Okay, Jonathan, since it's architectural, you don't need me, right?
You're welcome to stay, but no, you don't necessarily need to be here.
Okay, good night. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Night.
Have fun.
Okay.
Well, try.
Yeah, well, okay, it looks like all residents have exited. So Lynn, take it over.
Okay, so this is the beginning of the closed session, and it's a resolution. This is for 9302 Upwoods Lane, and the property had been sent to see it.